Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got lots of big news to share with you today. So I hope you all had a great Sunday yesterday and enjoyed the rest of your weekend. Now, for those of you that might be new here, we have been getting a lot of new subscribers recently, so I want to throw a quick message out and let you all know that I am not here on Sundays typically. We do take Sundays off as it is a major day for me just to kind of enjoy myself, spend some time with my family. So usually I'm not here on Sundays if you're wondering why I did not have a video yesterday, okay? So I want to go ahead and jump into the news now. And thank you all for tuning in. We're going to start off with this very big story on your screen here as Russia begins offensive with 4,000 soldiers to attack Kherson city. Okay, so this is down in like southeastern Ukraine, very deep south. We've been hearing that in the Zaporizhzhia region and also in Kherson that there was going to be major operations from the Russians that were going to begin to ramp up, and there was going to be major attacks down here. So down in the Zaporizhzhia region, we heard last week that the Ukrainians made some major gains near the city of Kamyansk, I think is how you pronounce it. They pushed the Russians out of that area. I'll show you guys an update that is confirmed by the Institute for the Study of War regarding that situation. We talked about that like late last week. Now we have a very big report today that the decision to launch an offensive on Kherson has already been made. The operation will be supervised by the commander of the Russian Airborne Forces, Mikhail Teplinsky, and up to 4,000 troops are preparing to attack the city of Kherson. And we've been hearing also that obviously it's separated by the river, the Dnipro River, from Kherson city and southern Kherson region that is controlled by the Russians right now. Really, the only way they can get to Kherson is by crossing via boats, like using boats to get across the river for the most part. And we have been hearing that the Russians have been massing hundreds of boats preparing for an amphibious assault onto Kherson city. We even heard last week as well that the Russians launched an assault down there trying to cross some of the bridges, but the AFU, the Armed Forces of Ukraine, pretty much wiped them out for the most part. So we're hearing that this major offensive is getting ready to start now, and have some information that the Russians are beginning to attack Kherson 3 to 5 times a day, launching waves of attacks. So it looks like this offensive is already beginning in the south, at least in the Kherson region. But Zaporizhzhia still remains pretty stagnant for the most part. So we'll talk about that as we move forward. I also have some updates regarding the North Koreans. They're going to be sending lots of equipment, maybe even more troops again soon, as we've been hearing that the North Koreans are getting pretty much wiped out in the Kursk region. The Ukrainians have been eliminating a lot of them recently. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the news, guys. Let's hop on over here real quick to RBC Ukraine. We're going to go over this briefly, this article here. Then we will jump over to X, and I've got some more information for you guys over there and some videos coming out from this war today as well. So it says here, offensive in Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions, question mark. What's Russia planning? This just coming out today, December 23rd, 2024. Take a look at this information here. The Russians are not abandoning their plans to launch an offensive in southern Ukraine. According to sources, Moscow plans to intensify military operations in the Zaporizhzhia region and the right bank part of Kherson. According to RBC Ukraine sources, the Russians' readiness for an offensive on the right bank of Kherson is higher, even higher than in Zaporizhzhia. Ukrainian military officials suggest that the main attack in the Zaporizhzhia region could be directed at the, this is going to be tough to say, Piati Khatki area along the Dnipro River. Additionally, enemy actions may occur near Hoyaipol. Hopefully I'm saying that right too. It is noted that in Kherson, the Russians have already attempted to break through to the right bank of the Dnipro. At the end of November, the reconnaissance and sabotage groups were repelled near the Antonivsky Bridge and the side of the Oleshki settlement. Okay, we talked about that last week. This was that bridge, the Antonivsky Bridge, where some of the Russian soldiers were trying to cross, and apparently the Ukrainians took them out, okay? And it says here, according to sources, the decision to launch an offensive on Kherson has already been made. The operations will be supervised by the commander of the Russian Airborne Forces, Mikhail Teplinsky. Up to 4,000 Russian assault troops are expected to be involved in the mission, including 61st Separate Marine Brigade, 7th Airborne Assault Division. These Russian units have already retreated from Kherson in the fall of 2022, adding symbolism to the operation. It is reported that Russian plans depend on weather conditions, okay? So we know right now it's snowing a lot, very cold over in Ukraine. And, they're going to have to cross some of these rivers, maybe try to push over some of the bridges that go over the Dnipro River as well. But we are expecting this assault, okay? So up to 4,000 Russian assault troops are expected to be involved in this attack. And it sounds like it's already beginning right now because I've got some information over on X that I can show you guys also. So let's hop on over here now. This is from Kolon. Russia's trying to storm the river to Kherson 3 to 5 times a day. They want to take as much land as possible and are throwing everything they have at the front. This is extremely concerning. I was in Hurikov only a few weeks ago, and the road we took is now under Russian control. Ukraine needs as much support as portable right now. Europe needs to quadruple its spending yesterday. Okay, so we're hearing, according to this information here from Kola and Rob, that the Russians are already starting to storm into Kherson. Okay, so this is kind of a map. It's in like Ukrainian, or I'm not sure if this is in Russian, but yeah, this is the city of Kherson right here. Okay, so it's obviously separated by the Dnipro River. And there's several bridges here that the Russians can try to use to cross over, but we keep hearing they're going to be using boats as well, and there will be some sort of amphibious assault from the Russians also. So yeah, 3 to 5 times a day they're attacking Kherson. They've even been bombing it a lot recently as well. We just had, I think it was on Saturday, we had a oncological dispensary for cancer treatment that was attacked over here in Kherson also. Okay, so lots of attacks happening over here, and we're expecting a major offensive to start beginning right now. Okay. All right, now moving on to another update from Military News UA. The armed forces of Ukraine have regained their positions in the Kamyansk area of Zaporizhzhia region, knocking the enemy out of the center of the village, according to the ISW, which is Institute for the Study of War. Okay, so they're claiming now that this was actually a successful attack, which is right over here, this kind of larger circle here, green and black circle. So Kamyansk is right over here in the Zaporizhzhia region. And I reported on this last week. I gave you guys some information that the Ukrainians apparently had pushed in to this area in Kamyansk and for the most part, pushed the Russians out. Okay, the Russians were complaining. I think it was on Telegram. They were complaining that they lost their positions in that city. So there are some areas of Zaporizhzhia right now where it looks like the Ukrainians are launching some offensives to potentially put a halt to the attack that's supposed to be coming down here also in Zaporizhzhia. So that's just an update on the Zaporizhzhia region, because this is also in southern Ukraine. If you're not aware of this, this is just a little bit east to Kherson. Kherson would have been over here if this map continued, okay? So this is just another update in the south also. All right, now we're going to talk about the North Koreans a little bit. I've got a few posts I want to show you guys. This is from NOAA Reports. North Korea is ramping up its weapons deliveries to Russia, according to the Wall Street Journal. Thousands of containers filled with ammunition, including 122mm and 152mm shells, Hwasong 11 missiles, and advanced weapons like 170mm Koksan howitzers and 240mm MLRS have been shipped by rail and sea. Train traffic at the Tumongan-Hassan border crossing has tripled this year, reaching record levels. Around 200 factories in North Korea are running at full capacity to produce ammunition for Russia, with Pyongyang receiving oil and cash in return. Satellite imagery shows rapid expansion of missile production facilities, including those for the Hwasong 11. So far, over 5 million artillery shells and more than 100 missiles have been sent to Russia. So, I mean, look at how much North Korea is supplying to Russia just alone, okay? They are definitely ramping up their operations and their factories to produce as much weaponry for the Russians. I mean, we even heard at one point, I think it was like 60 or 70% of the shells that were being fired by the Russians were majority North Korean artillery shells, okay? So they are definitely helping out the Russians big time right now and starting to expand their factories down there in North Korea. Okay, also from Nexta, Seoul calculates North Korea's irretrievable losses in the Ukraine war. North Korea's irretrievable losses in the Russia-Ukraine war have reportedly reached 1,100 personnel, according to Yonhap News, citing the Joint Chief of Staff of South Korea. South Korean intelligence suggests that Pyongyang is likely preparing to send additional troops and military equipment to support the Russian army. Furthermore, Seoul believes that North Korea may supply strike drones to Russia. Military sources note signs of drone production, with initial reports of this activity surfacing in November. So we actually talked about this a couple weeks ago with these strike drones. We had Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, checking out some of the testing grounds with some of the new drones they've been producing that look very similar to the Russian Lancet drone. Okay, so I'm assuming that's probably one of the drones they're going to be sending over, but I think they're working on different ones. Here's this report from the Yonhap news agency. It says North Korea preparing for additional troop deployment, suicide drone supplied to Russia. Okay, so they're supplying lots of weaponry, artillery guns, everything, you name it, going over to Russia right now. They're going to be sending even more troops, it looks like. So another troop deployment, who knows, potentially thousands more going to be going to Russia for training, then eventually on the front line. So this is North Korea getting even more involved in the war, as we've been hearing somewhere around 10 to 11,000, according to Ukrainian intelligence, is how many troops are being used by Russia right now, primarily in the Kursk region, but maybe even in eastern Ukraine and some of the occupied territories. So pretty crazy, guys. More and more evidence that we're seeing here that the North Koreans are preparing to be almost 100% involved, if not already, with this war, okay? Also for military news UA, North Korean Type 73 machine guns in use by the Russian military. So I've got a video to show you guys also of a Russian soldier holding one of these machine guns from the North Koreans, and check this thing out. It's pretty crazy looking and how massive it is.
Волшебная хреновина. Первый раз держу в руках. Ну, тяжелый. Может быть, даже можно пострелять с положения стоя. Очень непривычно. Очень тяжелый. Очень непривычно, весит ощутимо. Тяжелее, где-то килограммов 15, может быть 16. Где-то он так весит. Странные прицельные приспособления. Вообще странная хреновина. Я бы с таким бы не хотел бы работать. Никогда. Спасибо, брат. Волшебная.
All right, pretty insane looking machine gun, right? We can see that huge magazine on the top of the gun. Imagine having to shoot this thing or carry this thing around. But I'm not sure if the North Koreans are carrying these, or maybe these were weapons sent from the North Koreans to provide for Russian troops that they can use on the ground as well. But look at that thing. He can barely hold it up for more than a few seconds, considering how heavy that thing is. So that was a new video coming out today. Thought it was pretty interesting. So that is a Type 73 machine gun from the North Koreans. Okay, also from the Ukrainian Review, the number of killed and wounded North Korean soldiers in the Kursk region already exceeds 3,000 people. This was according to Volodymyr Zelensky today. Now, we have been hearing that that hundreds already were starting to arrive at the hospitals in Moscow. So maybe by now it could be up to 3,000. I mean, according to Zelensky, that's what he's stating here. But who knows? It could be that high. It could be a lot less. We've been hearing somewhere around 1,000, but then also he's claiming 3,000. So let me know what you think down below if that appears to be correct or at least somewhat accurate. Also from Bliskovka, Russia's trying to hide the presence of North Korean military personnel by issuing them with fake documents, according to the SSO of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, which is their special forces operations. And it says here, according to the decrypted data, the real names of the North Korean soldiers are Bon Guk-jin, Lee Dae-hyuk, and Cho Shol-ho. In Russian documents, they are listed under other names and with fictitious professions. The military IDs have fake stamps and signatures are in Korean. The Russian Federation uses any methods to hide losses and foreign presence on the battlefield. So check this out. Here's an image of one of these fake ID cards from the military, showing that they're basically trying to hide the fact that these are North Korean soldiers, that maybe they come from Russia. I mean, we've been hearing a lot of this from the Ukrainians claiming this, that Russia's doing everything they can to hide the fact that North Korea is involved in this war. I think Zelensky even came out sometime last week and he was claiming that the Russians were burning the faces of the North Korean soldiers that had died in battle, so that way they cannot be identified if Ukrainians happen to get their hands on them. So pretty crazy information coming out here. So we're going to move on to another update now from Max 24. A fire broke out at an oil and gas drilling rig in the Orenburg region in Russia. Okay, so take a look at this. We have a new fire at an oil and gas drilling rig inside of Russia. Take a look at this. Right, so more and more issues for Russia's oil and gas industries. Looks like there was some sort of accident here where one of these oil rigs caught on fire and have exploded. We can see a lot of the flames coming from this rig. Now, I don't believe this was from any kind of an attack, like a drone attack or anything like that. I don't believe that was the information that was reported, but it looks like it was just a fire here at an oil and gas drilling rig, this again in the Orenburg region of Russia. All right, moving on to another update from Igor Sushko. Russia's a fallen state before these bags filled with fuel oil collected in Anapa were swept back into the Black Sea. This woman complained that there is no equipment available to remove them from the beach. So we've been talking about this for the past probably 4 or 5 days of the cleanup operations in Anapa. This is in southwestern Russia, right on the coast on the Sea of Azov. And this is very close to where we had these oil tankers, Russian oil tankers that had sunk. I think 2 or 3 of them sank and caused a massive environmental disaster over here. And the beaches were just completely covered in oil. And these were bags that were being cleaned up, used to clean up the mess over here on the beaches. It looks like they got a lot of it cleaned up already, but now they don't have any means, no equipment to pick these things up and carry them over to landfills or however they're going to dispose of them. Take a look at this.
Не хватает техники для вывоза. Не хватает тракторов, не хватает КАМАЗов. Очень нужна техника. Не справляются. Сегодня ночью будет шторм. Это все может обратно затянуться в море. Не хватает.
All right, pretty insane. I mean, look at all these bags full of fuel and oil. Isn't that crazy, guys? I mean, it was completely littering the beaches just late last week, and it looks like they did get a lot of it cleaned up. But now they have no means of, cleaning them up and getting them out of there, as they don't have any equipment to even pick up these bags. They're probably very heavy. Okay, also moving on to another update from Jurgen Nodit. The cargo ship Sparta, which is transporting Russian troops from Syria, has broken down in the open sea, according to the GUR, which is Ukrainian intelligence. It is reported that the main engine fuel line has failed on the ship. The Russian ship is currently trying to repair the damage while the ship is drifting in the open sea near Portugal. The rest of the Russian contingent in Syria is located at 2 bases in Tartus and Hamaimim. The Russian Federation is moving parts of its troops and equipment by sea from Tartus to Libya. Okay, so here's a picture of one of these types of ships that broke down. So the Sparta transporting Russian troops from Syria, okay, it broke down as it looks like they were trying to potentially evacuate them out of there. And we've seen lots of ships just breaking down, completely falling apart. A lot of this may be even due to the sanctions that are placed on Russia. Their engines, they can't even repair them or keep them maintained. So this is a big problem for Russia's, fleet of vessels as well. We're seeing a lot of their ships breaking down, just like these ones we just talked about in the Black Sea or the Sea of Azov, as they were just completely splitting in half due to rough waves over there. Okay, so lots of issues with Russian ships right now. Also from NOAA reports, Russia shuts down one of its largest oil refineries after a joint drone and missile strike by Ukraine's SBU Navy. The Novoshakhtinsk refinery in Rostov region, which processed 15,000 tons of oil daily into fuel for Russian military equipment, is now completely offline after last week's attacks. So we actually covered this last week, the Novoshakhtinsk refinery in Rostov region. This, as far as we know, being the only operating refinery in the Rostov region as a whole. And it came under attack by Ukrainian Neptune missiles and drones. It was a combined attack from their SBU and Navy, as it states here, okay? So this place was so badly destroyed, it looks like they had to shut it down completely, and they're going to have to repair it. So that's very big, as again, the only refinery in the Rostov region being heavily damaged, okay? Also from Nexta, YouTube effectively blocked in Russia as traffic drops to 20% of normal levels. The platform's slowdown began in the summer, with Russian authorities attributing the issue to server wear and tear at Google. However, the American corporation denied this explanation. Former head of the State Duma Committee on Information Policy, Alexander Kinstein, confirmed that the restrictions were state-initiated. Okay, so if you live in Russia right now, it looks like majority of the population cannot even access YouTube. Since I think July, they've been heavily suppressing this website and not allowing anybody to really access it. I think some people can if they use a VPN, is what I've heard. But apparently, YouTube looks like it's for the most part blocked in Russia as of today. Okay, so that's some pretty big news. Also from Nexta, Russia's preparing to block WhatsApp in 2025. Senator Artyom Shaykin stated that the ban is imminent if the messaging service management does not comply with Russian legislation. This primarily concerns the storage of user data, message histories, and their provision upon request by the FSB. So maybe even WhatsApp could be blocked in Russia very soon as well. Now, me personally, I don't use WhatsApp. I don't know if any of you guys use it. Let me know down below if you use WhatsApp, but I personally have never used it. I've never had a reason to. But I don't know if maybe a lot of people in America just don't really use it, but I've never really heard of anybody, for the most part, that use this app. But looks like it could be blocked in Russia very soon. Okay, also from Ukrainian Review, Zabaykalsky Cry, Russia, 2 freight trains carrying coal collided in derailing a total of 42 cars. Okay, so this happening again, guys. I mean, this has probably happened 2 or 3 times, I want to say, just in the last couple weeks, where we have cargo trains that are derailing due to, collisions. Okay, they're crashing into each other. This was a cargo train carrying coal, total of 42 cars derailing and crashing over here in Zabaykalsky Cry, okay, in Russia. Here's some images coming out from there. So this has been happening so much recently. Not sure exactly how that's happening, but it is happening a lot, okay? We just literally reported that. I want to say it was either on Thursday or Friday of last week, maybe Saturday, but it wasn't too long ago that we had another one in Russia that derailed also. Okay, also from Nexta, Germany has announced a new military aid package for Ukraine, including 15 1A5 tanks, Leopard tanks that is, 2 Gepard self-propelled anti-aircraft systems, 30 MRAP vehicles with mine protection, 1 PZH 2000 self-propelled howitzer, 12 armored vehicles with kinetic defense systems, 1 IRIS-T SLM air defense system with missiles, 1 IRIS-T SLS air defense system, 2 Patriot missile launchers, 2 TRML 4D radars, ammunition for Leopard 1 and Leopard 2 tanks, 52,000 155mm artillery shells, AIM-9L/1 L1, what's L1 or I1 Sidewinder guided missiles, 65,000 rounds of ammunition for Gepard systems. Okay, so that's a very big aid package over to Ukraine. This was just being announced today, okay? So lots of weaponry coming from the Germans over to Ukraine very soon. Also from Bliskovka, Ukraine received another $1.1 billion from the IMF under the Extended Fund Facility Program. Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal, announced the money will go to the state budget and help the government finance critical expenses, social assistance, salaries of doctors, teachers, etc. In total, under this program, Ukraine has already received $9.8 billion, guys. That's a lot of money, $9.8 billion just from the IMF due to this program. And yeah, another $1.1 billion from the IMF heading over to Ukraine to help out with their economy and fund many of their programs. So very big update for support for Ukraine. Also, for more translated Dmitry, a warehouse with 16 million worth of parts for Shaheeds destroyed in Tatarstan, according to the GUR, which is Ukraine's intelligence. A warehouse with 65 fuselages for attack drones caught fire on the territory of the Alabuga Economic Zone. Engines, navigation systems, and thermal imaging cameras for the production of 400 units of such UAVs burned down. Now, this is very close. I think this is Kherson right here. And just about, I'd say, over 1,000, maybe almost 1,500 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border is where this supposedly happened now, where we had this warehouse for parts for Shaheeds, these Shahed drones that are constantly attacking Ukraine every day. It was destroyed, okay, over in the Tatarstan, in Russia. Now, we just had reports, I think it was on Saturday, that we had a lot of high-rise skyscrapers that were being struck in Kherson, which I believe is right here. Now, that the fact that it's close by, I'm not sure if maybe this was due to a drone attack, but this was just coming out today, which is a couple days later from that attack we had on Saturday with these high rises being struck in Kherson. So I'm thinking that it's not related, but it is in the same region. But looks like there was some sort of fire that caused this to happen. So that was some big news. That could be huge in terms of drone production for Russia. Okay, very big warehouse that was destroyed. Okay, now I've got a few updates for you guys that came out from yesterday that I want to share with you in case you weren't aware of this information. Max 24, Russia's largest military training ground, Katamovsky, was damaged as a result of an attack on the Rostov region on Sunday. Okay, this again just happening yesterday, according to Astra. Drones and a missile were shot down over the Novocherkassk, GRES, and military airfield in Milerovo, power line was damaged. 4 drones hit the territory of the military training ground Katamovsky. A fire and detonation started at the ammunition depot and training at the training ground. 150th Motorized Rifle Division is stationed near the training ground. Okay, so it looks like we had an attack over here and some damage being reported at the Katamovsky training grounds. Okay, so this is a picture of that that came under attack yesterday, most likely from Ukrainian drones. Now, the Rostov region, I believe, came under heavy attack yesterday. I think we even had a oil depot that was struck yesterday in Oriel, Russia. So lots of attacks were taking place yesterday. This came out from the Rostov region. Okay, also from Special Kherson Cat. Tonight, Ukrainian drones blew up an ammunition depot in Novocherkassk, Rostov region of Russia. The video shows the moment of the explosion with a beautiful mushroom cloud. So we've got this here. This was actually being reported yesterday as well, so it happened like the night before. And again, I wanted to show you guys this information in case you weren't aware of this, as yesterday I was not here, but we did have another ammunition depot that was destroyed yesterday night inside of Russia. Okay, so this was video footage of this explosion over here. You can see all the secondary blast from this fire here. And I believe this was due to a drone attack is what was being reported at the time, or some sort of missile strike potentially also. Okay, one last thing to show you guys before we get you out of here from the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of December 23rd, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. So here's our final update with the troop losses from the Ukrainians, as what they state here is 1,990 troops. So this number has been creeping up closer to 2,000. I think one time last week we had one report of 2,300 troops that were lost from the Russian side, so still maintaining now closer to 2,000. Also 15 APVs, 67 vehicles and fuel tanks, 6 tanks, 29 artillery systems, 55 UAVs, 2 special equipment, and 1 cruise missile apparently also being shot down last night as well. So these are just some of the indicative losses from the Russian side, according to Ukrainian intelligence. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in here with me today, and it looks like we're going to be reporting more of attacks in the south, probably in Zaporizhia, but for right now, lots of talk in terms of Kherson City coming under attack by the Russians with up to 4,000 soldiers. So expect more updates from me talking about that in the future. And again, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. With that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.